Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. While there is a lot going on in Ferguson, Missouri, there's also the ongoing war by the atheist humanists against good Christians in this country. Dr. Alex McFarland, the director of Christian Worldview and Apologetics at the Christian Worldview Center in North Greenville University, Greenville, South Carolina, and talk show host of Exploring the World radio program, Alex M.C. Farland. AlexMcFarland.com is the website. Is with us to discuss that. Dr. McFarland, welcome back to the program.
Tom, it's great to be with you. Thanks for having me.
You had an event with Ben Carson you wanted to mention.
Well, you are so kind. Yes, we've got an event September 5 and 6 called Truth for a New Generation. It's an apologetics conference we've done for a lot of years, and the website is truthforanewgeneration.com, truth, F-O-R, Truth for a New Generation. And this year's theme does tie into what you and I might talk about today, life and liberty given by God. And we've got Ben Carson and Eric Metaxas and a number of great speakers. But the premise of that event, and really one of my kind of core convictions that I talk about, is that the Founding Fathers, wrote our Declaration, our Constitution, the Bill of Rights, with belief in a supreme being and belief in
I don't believe that.
Really?
Yeah, you got Ben Franklin saying early on, I absented myself from Christian assemblies, basically that he considered their religion to be gibberish. You've got George Washington and Thomas Jefferson's diaries. Jefferson talking about how Washington would never make a confession of faith, and when the Presbyterians tried to back him into it, he blew them off. The one time he even mentioned religion was in one of the State of the Union addresses. It was written by Madison, who was a Presbyterian. No, sure. I'm not buying it.
Well, while it's true that our Founding Fathers, I think by core conviction, had some problems with some of what they saw abuses of clergy that were, Jefferson talked about the rags that some clergy had wrapped Christianity in. They definitely, think about William Douglas in 1952 in Zorak versus Clawson. He wrote this in his decision for the court of Zorak versus Clawson. He said, we are a religious people whose institutions presuppose a supreme being. And otherwise... Well,
that's not got nothing to do with our government.
Oh, institutions, our government are not...
We have churches. We have churches that presuppose a divine... Are you saying that our banks are religious?
Listen, honesty and ethics, which definitely impinges on our banking and economic systems, presuppose universal...
So you're trying to say that human beings cannot be honest or ethical without religion? Nobody's going to buy that.
I'm not saying that without God you can't do things that are ethical. What I am saying is that you don't have an objective basis for being ethical.
I think there's a strong argument to be made that religion, look at what's happening right now with ISIS in the Middle East in the name of God. The religion has been probably the most counter-ethical, anti-ethical, anti-life force in the history of humankind. You can easily bring to mind hundreds of wars that have been fought in the name of God. You can find a bunch of them in the Bible. Read the book of Joshua. And, where God said, don't just kill every man, every warrior in the city of Ai. Kill all the children, kill all the women. If they're pregnant, cut their bellies open, cut the heads off the dogs, put the king's head on a stake and put it out in front of the village. This kind of barbarity was specifically not just sanctioned, but demanded by the being that you are willing to worship and submit your life to?
Christ into the world. People need a Savior. Jesus is that Savior. In 1854, the House of Representatives report, March 27, 1854, said, quote, the universal sentiment was that Christianity should be encouraged, but not any one sect or denomination. And it said this in that House report, that Christianity was, quote, the religion of the founders, and they expected it to remain the religion of their descendants. What I say to people is, look, you don't want to be a believer in God. You don't want to be theistic. You don't have to. But don't tear down the very framework that gives you the freedom to live your life as a non-theist.
Except the framework was secular, not religious.
Absolutely false. Endowed by their creator, capital C. Look, if you've got a creator, that's not a secular world. That's a theistic world. Now,
or a deistic world, but it's still not a religious world.
Dr. King said in his 1963 Pulitzer Prize-winning book that...
You're talking about the Reverend Martin Luther King? You're going to quote a minister to confirm religion?
Well, let me ask you this. Dr. Martin Luther King, yes, he was a minister. That doesn't automatically negate his academic credentials. But let me say, in his 1963 Pulitzer Prize-winning book, While We Can't Wait, Dr. King said that a Judeo-Christian worldview was, quote, part of our heritage. Now, let me ask you this. Dr. King, who hung the validity of the civil rights movement on belief in God, a creator, and he said that was part of our national DNA. Tom, I'm asking you a yes or no question. Was Dr. King wrong?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, Thomas Jefferson, over and over and over again. He said he pointed out that Eskew's history that was quoted by, I'm forgetting his name now, but in any case, that Montesquieu's history was wrong because it argued that British common law was based on Judeo-Christian values. And Jefferson, you can read this, you can easily find this. Jefferson said, this is a falsity, it is a lie of the clergy, and the proof is that the British common law started around 630, and Britain did not become Christian until the 860s. There was a period of 200 years when British common law existed, and there was no sense of Christianity whatsoever. I'm paraphrasing Jefferson. I don't have the quote right in front of me, but Google my name and Judge Moore, and you'll find all the quotes you want about Jefferson on that.
Jefferson said, quote, God who gave us life gave us liberty. Can the liberties of the nation remain secure when we've removed the conviction that these liberties...
I think you are quoting one of David Barton's made-up quotes. There are so many of them, it's hard to keep track of them. It's sort of like David Barton promoting the myth that Ben Franklin wanted the Constitutional Convention to say a prayer every day. James Madison himself, who kept the notes, had to rebut that in April 8th, 1831. He wrote a letter.
On August 19th, 2014, Thom Hartmann is saying Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in his philosophical basis for the civil rights movement was wrong. Honestly,
no, I didn't say that. I said that if Martin Luther King was asserting that the basis of America, of the United States, you're putting words in my mouth. If anybody asserts that the foundation of the United States was Christian or theistic, I would submit to you they are wrong. The basis of the United States, of our original government, was the Enlightenment. The Enlightenment, to a substantial extent, rejected religious tyranny, to quote Jefferson.
Here is not a made-up quote from George Washington's first inaugural address in 1789.
At the one time that he mentioned religion, as Jefferson pointed out. One time Washington mentioned religion, and it was authored by Madison. Madison was his ghostwriter.
Well, then one time or 1,000 times, our founding fathers believed...
George Washington was an atheist.
That's absolutely false. You need to read his prayer book, where George Washington wrote in his personal prayer book, God, before whom I can only appear, wrapped in the righteousness of thy dear Son, Jesus Christ. George Washington was absolutely not an atheist. Tom,
again, you've got to be using made-up David Barton quotes.
I've researched this myself apart from any other book. Tom, you know I love you, but you're either ignorant of history or you're a revision. Our founding fathers were not atheists. Of the 56 signers of the Declaration, 54 were at least theistic, belief in a God who is the foundation of morality.
Oh, the deists. I mean, Thomas Jefferson largely considered himself a deist, but you know what he did with the New Testament? He cut out all of Jesus' miracles. That book is still in print to this day, the Jefferson Bible. There's not a single miracle in it. He thought Jesus was a great philosopher. Yeah, they all believe that something started the universe.
Yeah, and that something gives us a framework for morality that a new generation needs to know about.
All right. Dr. Alex McFarland, you have the last word. AlexMcFarland.com is the website. Thanks for dropping by, Alex.
TruthForNewGeneration.com. Thanks, Tom.
Okay, bye.